Back again. Can we determine what is right and what is wrong without religion? One of the strongest arguments that I've ever heard from theists is, well, without religion, without God, without the Bible, or Quran or Holy Scriptures, you just wouldn't know what is right, what is wrong. Plus, what's stopping you from raping people, killing people, and being a horrible person? I want to find out what you think about it. Post in your comments. But we're going to talk about it in a few seconds. Okay, thanks for watching. Now, is it okay to do evil things just because you believe that God told you to do it? I think we have to first find out how we considered something good and something evil, because very often I hear this argument that, oh, you know what, if you're a good person, that maybe you will be rewarded by going to heaven, being reincarnated, being resurrected, or whatever it is that God or supernatural source has for you for being good. And this life here is just a test. And if you're a good over here, then you're going to be rewarded in an afterlife. However, if you're an evil person here, if you're a bad person here, then you can't get away with it, right? So you're going to be punished later on, whether it's going to be through the destruction of Armageddon or hell, or going to be reincarnated as a cockroach, whatever it is. People have different beliefs about what happens to us after we die. But a question about religion: is it possible to determine what is right and what is wrong? So I very often ask a person, how do they determine that somebody is evil, that somebody is bad, that somebody is cruel, that somebody is immoral? And they would give me examples of people who are rapists, people who kill other people, people who maybe molest children. And interestingly enough, I would say, well, I can give you tons of examples of a time when God killed children. For example, firstborn children of Egypt, right, to prove something to Pharaoh. He killed them himself. Or in the flood, he flooded the whole world. All men, women, children, you name it. Burned them alive in Sodom and Gomorrah. So what determines that someone is evil? Is it their act? Is it what they do? Then what kind of an evil act God didn't do so far? At least from the Bible, right? Because if you are saying, well, God could do it, then we cannot follow his example. Then God is a hypocrite, because he says, do as I say, not as I do. At the same time, he would say, do not murder, but then he would order people to be killed, even though they did nothing wrong. They were just simply on the way to the promised land for his chosen nation. Uh, it's interesting to watch how theists would defend evil work, truly evil. Okay, when let's say God orders people to be slaughtered, everybody, men, women, children, pregnant women to be opened with a sword, and children dashed against stones, the most barbaric things we can possibly imagine. And yet people will justify it. People will say, well, he must know something we don't, or there is something beyond what is written here, and therefore he must have had his reasons. He is the giver of life, he can take the life away. And then he would just justify the most cruel and evil things possible. And I really have a hard time with that, because it's interesting how everybody in every religion makes the same claims. So a Muslim would say, it's okay for me to go attack another country, destroy those towers, kill the apostates, stone to death women, because in my holy book, in my Quran, in my prophet is telling me that is the right thing to do. And they believe that's very strongly. And it's interesting how you would see a Christian looking at the Muslim saying, no, what they're doing is evil, but if my God told me to do it, then it's fine. And It's everywhere. This is all across the world. I mean, the moment you start studying history, study other religions, you see that everybody justified this. No matter how evil it was, people would sacrifice their own children, and they would say, God made this provision. So if we sacrifice a virgin or a firstborn son, then he would forgive our sins, that he would forgive what we have done wrong. At first, for Jewish people, it was just slaughtering animals, one after another, as a sacrifice to God. Then later on, you had to be a human. It's interesting. You read all this and you're trying to figure out the morality of it. And I asked, when I was reading the Bible, I asked myself that many times. I asked myself the question, would I do it? If God asked me to go and rape David's wives, because that was his order to teach David a lesson, would I do it? Or would I say, no, 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 these women have not done anything wrong. I am not going to rape them in public. Am I the good guy or a bad guy? Am I a bad guy because I disobeyed God's order? Or am I a good guy for not raping the women? What if I raped the women? Would that be a good guy because he followed God's commandments? It's tough to answer those questions, and people find justification by saying, oh, that's the Old Testament, that we don't obey that law. Interesting. So let me ask you this. Jesus asked his followers to buy a sword. Why did he do that? He said, if you don't have money to buy a sword, sell your garments and buy a sword. That's how important it was to carry a weapon. Why would he ask his followers to carry a weapon? One of the first people that he himself ordered to be baptized was Cornelius, and he was a soldier, and he had soldiers underneath him. Soldiers do some stuff that other average people don't do, including killing others. So we got to ask ourselves a little bit more objectively, why is it okay to justify the most cruel and barbaric deeds that people did just because I believe they followed the God that I believe in? And yet, exactly the same deeds that were done by somebody else who followed their God and followed their conscience and followed their holy book, they're just evil. They're just evil people. And I hear this all the time, and I find it to be extremely destructive. I find it that most of the beliefs from the religion are actually harmful. And if, let's say, you were one of Jehovah's Witnesses, and you woke up from the religion and you realize, hey, you know what? I realized that there were a lot of practices in that religion that were harmful to people. But when you were in it, you didn't see anything to be harmful. You justified the fact that you saw maybe, or you heard about people who did not take blood transfusion and they died. You heard about children dying because they didn't receive blood transfusion, and you justified it saying, that's fine, that's God's order, he knows better than us. He's got superior wisdom. If he gave us that order, he knows better than us. And with that mindset, who are you to question God? God knows better, and people would allow children to die. I think what helps us to progress is the fact that some people are saying maybe we should look at things a little bit more objectively, and defining what is right, what is wrong, what is moral, what is immoral should be defined based on the consequences that certain actions bring. Not whether something was sinful, but whether something is harmful. Because if somebody says it is sinful to question an authority like the Bible, God, Quran, Allah, or whatever, then they can do whatever they want. They will stone people to death for apostasy just because somebody questioned the Quran. They will disfellowship a Jehovah's Witness just because he questioned the governing body. And that's cruel because of the consequences. But if you want to determine what is right and what is wrong, you start with the very first question. Does this improve the quality of life? Or does it make it worse? Is it causing people pain? Is it causing people harm? Is it causing suffering? Those are the questions that you should ask yourself now, instead of, well, is it sinful? Well, if you ask a Mormon what's sinful, he will tell you drinking coffee is sinful. The guy will look at them really, really bad if they drink alcohol. If you ask Muslim person, Muslim woman, she will tell you taking the hijab off of her head, that is sinful. It wasn't for you, but it is for her. So you see, studying a little bit about history of why those weird laws and teachings came from, it truly helped us to see that it was all done for control. See, for thousands of years, people were controlled by two forces: the government and religion. And the government set up a whole bunch of laws, and those two usually were one. The government set up a whole bunch of laws saying, you do this and this and this and this, you have to obey me, and you got to bring sacrifices, right? So taxes were usually the sacrifices. But religion said, oh, you know what? We can't watch you all the time. Therefore, there is this invisible being that is watching you all the time and knows everything about you, and you better obey, because even if you try to hide something, there will be a punishment for you afterlife. And it worked really well. The government wanted taxes. The priests, Levites, or whoever was in the uh, leadership of religion would say, you got to bring sacrifices, and whatever is that the best out of your income has to come to me, right? Because God would not accept a crooked carrot. He has to be straight. God would not accept a sheep with little black dots. He has to be pure white, right? I mean, they came up with all those things because they benefited from it, and then it has been pushed on from generation to generation. And when we're looking and learning about other religions, we're like, what the heck are those people doing? I mean, don't they have brains to think that half of the stuff that they're thinking is a myth? But then you ask somebody else from other religion, and they're looking at you, and you're like, what are you thinking? It's like, it's crazy. It's crazy. But to think objectively, we got to step back and think about what is it that we're doing. See, the problem with religion is that there's tons of good people in it. Okay, people who actually wanted to do good, who have good hearts, who are dedicated towards a greater good, but they're willing to do enormous cruelty just because they believe that this is what God requires of them. Because they believe that if they didn't do it, it would be a sin. Because they believe that by not doing it, the people will be punished by hell, Armageddon, death, reincarnation, and so on. And this is why I believe that religion is actually harmful. There are some good things about religion. Don't get me wrong. It motivated people to start hospitals. It motivated people um, to help homeless people and stuff like this. No doubt about it. But there's tons of hospitals and tons of people who help others with charity without the religion. So there's no need for religion for the charity to exist. But where I find religion harmful is when I see good people able to do really cruel things, because it was indoctrinated in their mind that by doing so, they will please their God. I know my family loves me, and I love them dearly as well. But they strongly believe that by ostracizing me and my family and others, they're trying to save me. They're trying to save me from Armageddon, from death. Because if I'm gonna miss them, and if I'm gonna feel this pain of separation, that one day I'm gonna wake up, and then I'm gonna go back to the religion, and I'm gonna be saved. I mean, after all, they believe I'm on the Titanic. This world is sinking. They're on this raft, and they might not be as comfortable as I am, but it doesn't matter, because they're going to survive and I'm going to die. So whatever it takes, we have to do those, no matter how cruel that is. And we see that among ex-Jehovah's Witnesses. But believe me, for thousands of years, the punishment was much more severe. Until today, in many countries, people are being stoned to death for apostasy. Why? Because they believe they're doing the right thing. They believe that they're saving people from hell. That's right. They're thinking that if we kill this apostate, we're gonna save a whole bunch of people from becoming victims of his false teachings. And if we kill one, we save many from eternal hell. That's why they do such cruel things. Jehovah's Witnesses are able to do ostracism right? Because they believe they're doing the right thing. You study a little bit about history of Christianity, you'll see torture, cutting off people's heads. I mean, Christopher Columbus, when he came to America and what he did to native people, whew, it's horrible. It's horrible. But then Jewish people did it to other nations as well when they were traveling to their promised land. Tons of cruelty in the name of the God that they believe in. And it's horrible to watch how people would say that's okay because my God told these people to do this, but these other ones, they were serving Poseidon or Zeus or Allah, so it's no good. It's no good. But my God said to do those horrible things, so it's okay. It's okay. I find that to be harmful. And not only that, I think it stopped people from progressing when it comes to science. A lot. A lot. When I was in India, I saw people who suffered, boy, they would live in conditions that no animals live in developed countries. And one of the reasons why that is because they believe in reincarnation. They believe that these people are suffering because they've done something wrong in their previous life. And if we were there to help them, then we would be going against the punishment that God's prepared for them. And it's horrible to watch how many people suffer because of this belief. For such a long time, people believed that they were getting sick because of sin. I'm getting sick because of sin. I had that belief too. I have a flu today because some naked woman talked to a snake thousands of years ago. As funny as that might sound, people still believe that that is the cause of diseases. Now the science started studying, thinking, hey, maybe there is more to the story. Maybe we should study about viruses. Maybe we should study about bacteria. Maybe we should develop medicine and penicillin and antibiotics and vaccines and all the things that will help us to fight against the things that are trying to kill us, which is, according to theists, part of God's creation. Even in the Bible, when they asked Jesus, oh, this guy, he's been blind from day one. I mean, he was born blind. Who sinned, him or his parents? Because that belief was there among people, and they were not trying to figure it out how to get better through science. They were trying to get better by miracles. So they would go to a certain water, and then when the water is moved, they would throw people in and hope that the person will be healed. But that's not science. When they saw mold in their home, the remedy for getting rid of mold, which they called leprosy, how could house have a leprosy? You go figure that out on your own. And the remedy was you got to kill 2 birds and sprinkle the blood on your house. That was God's direction. Go try to do that in your house. See if that works. But that's what they believed. And if you try to figure out, why, then you'll see that those were just customs back then. Those were the people trying to figure it out, what is right, what is wrong, based on the common society. So they would put fear in people, okay, by killing 1 or 2 for working on Sabbath, right? To make sure that nobody does it. Was that good punishment? Somebody picks up wood on Sabbath, go kill him. But Manasseh could go and kill Isaiah by cutting him in half with a saw, burning his own son for what was it? Worship for other gods, set up different worship places for different gods, and then God forgave him because he prayed once. What is right? What is wrong? What is harmful? What it's not? What improves the quality of life? What it doesn't? We get to decide ourselves, but I believe very strongly that religion is damaging because it turns people's brains off when it comes to right and wrong. Because we study the consequences and we can see whether certain actions are cruel, immoral, harmful, because it does not improve the quality of life. It makes their life worse for ourselves, for this planet, for animals. But if we have this this mind that, okay, the religion has to dictate what is right, what is wrong, then we're usually relying on the authority figure, whoever is that runs the religion, and that person tells you what is right, what is wrong. And that I believe to be harmful. But I'm curious about your thoughts, and what do you think about the subjects? Post it in the comments. Thanks for watching. See you in the next one.